All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be my full review of these knives, or really this knife, the Jack Wolf Knives Big Bro Jack. And first of all, huge thank you to Ben for sending this along. I've really loved getting to see all of these models, and this one that's coming out here on April 14th of 2023 is another one that I'm genuinely really excited about. So I was happy to check it out. And so as usual, in my full reviews of these Jack Wolf knives, I am going to talk a little bit about the pattern first, and then the review of the knife itself. So what is the Big Bro Jack? So really, the Big Bro Jack is a large or full-sized sleeve bored regular jack. So that means that it has this shape where one end, particularly or usually the pivot end, but not always, is smaller, is less wide, and then the butt end is wider and often, usually, but again, not necessarily always, pretty much completely rounded like this. Some are a little less rounded, but usually a sleeve board will have a rounded end like this, and then it can have either a rounded pivot end or a more squared off pivot end like this. So it's a regular jack, which means that, it's just kind of another name for this sleeve board type pattern, particularly when it has that more squared off pivot end, and it is a single blade. So this is a single bladed regular jack in a sleeve board shape. But one really interesting thing about this Big Bro Jack is that the scales, or the covers, are a little thicker in the center. So they're thicker in the center both from top to bottom and from side to side. So I'll show you that here on this black micarta version. You can see that they're thicker in the center there. It is also true on this Nebula carbon fiber or fat carbon Nebula. So you can see that's a little thicker in the center there. And I'll give you a comparison to the Little Bro Jack. So this is the Little Bro Jack. And you can see that the scales, the covers, are pretty thin. And that's true for all Jack Wolf knives. So I'll show you, what's another micarta one I have here is the Vampire Jack. So kind of more uniform, not super thin, but more uniform across on that one. And then here is the Benny's Clip, and again, pretty uniform across the length of the handle. Whereas on these Big Bro Jacks, it kind of swells in the center. And so that's something that I noticed, and I thought, wow, what a cool subtle nod to a jumbo jack. So a jumbo jack is, again, a regular jack or a sleeve board type jack. But instead of being kind of just the normal thickness that a slip joint normally is, they are usually much thicker in the scales. I mean, this particular one, this Way North Blackjack, is a 2-blade, but you can see that the scales are more rounded. So I'll show you it in comparison to the same pattern, but a different model. So this is a Barlow version of it instead of a jumbo jack, and you can see how much thinner those are versus on this blackjack jumbo jack. And so I thought, wow, what a cool thing that Ben did here, making these Big Bro Jacks kind of like a jumbo jack, a modern jumbo jack. And I said that to Ben, and he said, yeah, I noticed that they were, kind of swelled in the center also, but it wasn't intentional. So it just, maybe it's how they, fit the covers to the bolsters on these, or I don't know. I don't think Ben knew really either. But he said he did notice it, and, it wasn't purposeful, but I still think it's pretty cool. It makes this, it is a regular jack, a large jackknife, but it makes it kind of like a jumbo jack also. So I do appreciate that. And it is a very classic, jackknife. It's got a wonderful clip point blade. It's got a nice, straight, simple handle there. And, there's not a whole lot to say about the regular jack pattern. I think it's probably the most recognizable pattern out there. Anybody that sees this knife is gonna, recognize it. It's a normal jackknife, what you would picture, you know, your grandpa using or somebody in an old-timey movie using. This is pretty much the shape that that knife will be. So let's move on to the knife itself. Now, first of all, I did an unboxing of these knives, and I do have two because this is the one that Ben was sending for review, and it matches this little bro. But I just thought that this Fat Carbon Nebula was so cool. I just wanted to get one, so Ben allowed me to buy one, you know, a little bit ahead of time here. And I did do an unboxing, so you can see that where I show all of the packaging and everything, but as usual, it comes in a nice box, and then in the box, there is a tube with, you know, really nice artwork. There's the big bro, Jack being the big bro, and the little bro there. And then in the tube, there is a pog with that artwork, and then there is a microfiber kind of wrap, maybe a nod to wax paper wrap, and then a sticker and a very nice leather slip. So, you know, just a couple really nice things that Ben throws in with these knives here. And as always, these are superbly made. There's no issues. They're basically perfect. You can see no, you know, gaps in the back spring at all. Both of these have no gaps. Both of them have perfect centering, and then they both have beautiful action too, maybe even better than other Jack Wolf knives. I mean, they all have great action, but these are right around a 6 or 7 on pull. Really beautiful walk and talk, just sounds great, feels great. I actually haven't had to put oil in these like I have with, you know, a lot of the other Jack Wolf knives, you know, after carrying and using them some. I haven't actually used this one, to be honest. I carried and used this one, but I didn't need to put oil in it. And listen to that sound. It is really, really nice, particularly on this Fat Carbon, the Nebula version. So just, you know, superbly made, really no issues. If you've had one of these Jack Wolf knives, you know they are really, really well made, and just a beautifully made knife. As for, you know, carrying and using, I think this is a great size. It is, you know, not massive, so I'll show you in comparison to a GEC 15. So there is a 15, and then an 86. So you can see that the Big Bro is very similar in size to the 86. So if you're familiar with the GEC 86, then, you know, you'll be familiar with the Big Bro. And I think it's a great size for a, you know, carrying and using knife. I also think it's a great size for people who are coming from modern knives, because modern knives tend to be bigger. This knife can do everything that you need for an EDC knife. I mean, you've got plenty of blade to do your normal daily cutting, opening boxes, breaking down boxes, even a little bit of food prep, maybe, you know, cutting up your lunch at work, things like that. This blade is definitely enough for most people's EDC, I would say, especially its S90V. So you're going to keep an edge really well on this. And it also, you know, it's big enough that it gets a lot done, but it's still, you know, small enough that I don't think it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows. I don't personally have to worry about that at my work, but I know a lot of people do. And being that it's a slip joint, it, you know, has a lot of class to it. So, you know, that kind of adds to that. It's not very intimidating. But I think that these are really great. And I think that this Big Bro Jack is probably one of the most easily accessible of the patterns. So like I say, it's kind of like the classic slip joint pattern. So I think for people who are, you know, interested in getting into modern slip joints, I think that this Big Bro Jack is really the way to go. I think that you will be happy with it. I think that you will be shocked at how well they're made and just how satisfying it is to, you know, open and close the knife and see, feel, and hear that beautiful walk and talk and just the impeccable build quality that this has. So again, huge thank you to Ben for sending these along. I always love getting to check them out, and that is absolutely still the case with this Big Bro Jack, the newest model. It is dropping on April 14th, 2023. The dealers will be in the description. Let them know that Knife Thoughts sent you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell and select all so you know when I post my next video. Check out my other social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like these and knife related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.